Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Moss, and I'm with,
Hi, I'm Dr. Sean Carey.
and we're excited for you to join us on episode 1 of the Beyond the Practice podcast. And we're excited to just share with you why we decided to take the plunge, do this podcast, and start to explore this journey. Now, Sean, I feel like it was you who initially was the catalyst for this podcast. What was the main reason why you wanted to explore this explore this information in this format and way?
Well, I love the conversations that you and I have. We've had so many different amazing conversations about healing, about
Mhm.
our own journey, and then the different capacities we work as healers personally and together. But one of the things that has been part of my journey is that I've been a part of. I love being a student, and I've been a part of so many different classrooms, and I love just sitting there learning from people who have lots of wisdom.
Mm.
And then there's kind of this point where you realize of like, oh, I need to be teaching and speaking to, like, I have a great deal of wisdom that needs to be shared, and there are gaps in different understandings of different groups that
Mm.
we're a part of where they might be missing different pieces of wisdom that could really help. So different colleagues, I think, would really benefit from some of the wisdom that we've accumulated through our study.
Totally. Yeah. And just a quick background, we're both chiropractors, we're both spiritual guides, energetic healers, teachers. So we have an array and a diversity within the healing profession that really at this point, has evolved. I've been in practice 12 years. How many years have you been in practice now?
12 or 13.
12 or 13. So, over that time, we've accumulated a lot of interesting miracles, stories, outcomes. And in addition, we've had to learn as a healer how do we evolve and grow and protect and cultivate uh, our own self throughout that process. Because I think the one aspect that's very unique to healers is you're always working with people. And when you're working with people, you're working with their stuff, good and bad. And one of the motivations for me was like, there's all kinds of healing professions out there that could benefit from having some conversation around what it's like to take care of people, because you and I both know that that's not the easiest thing, to do that.
Yeah, people are absolutely wonderful, and they're also very challenging, and as are we. And we're each person is a universe within themselves, a
Mhm.
universe of good and ill, if you will. And it's something that you get to see every day, like every patient, every client,
Mhm.
every staff member, every business interaction we have gets to be another reflection to ourself and our journey, and it's something that is always expanding and always going beyond. There's no
Mhm.
static point, which is one of my favorite parts of doing this.
Yeah, and one of my whys to explore this whole podcast is with, I think through conversation we actually do move energy, right? People forget that like with our words we create change, and by being able to talk about the situations that you're in or you've experienced, it allows us to move energy and grow together. And I know for me, I've always found that to be true with you along the journey. We met in a very unique fashion where people thought we were friends for multiple years. In fact, fun story, we went to a chiropractic conference that occurred quarterly. And I was going for basically like 12 straight times. So, like 3 years straight while I was in school, and I stopped. And you started basically the quarter I stopped, and we never
Yeah.
met each other. But once you started going, people were like, "Oh, do you know Bill? You guys would be like
Yeah.
best friends." So people had like this premonition that we would get along years before we even had a conversation. Um, so it's fascinating that here we are today and we're exploring, and we've had a journey through chiropractic, we've had a journey through spiritual healing and the healing work. And I thought that this would be an amazing way to not only for you and I to continue to grow in our conversations, but also start to bring in people who are mentors, people who we
Yes.
don't know yet, people
Yeah.
who we want to get to know, so we can really even go deeper in our own wisdom of what healing is and what it's like to be a healer.
Absolutely. Yeah, and one of the things that I love about you and about myself too is that we both have a lot of life experience as well. So
Mhm.
it's like we haven't lived kind of a normal life, if you will, and so we just
No.
go through a lot of different experiences in business and healing and development of self. Uh,
Yeah.
and what that does opens up as far as these different avenues for us to see ourselves in a much deeper light, which creates more openings for deeper levels of healing, which
Mhm.
means, and my belief that we can start attracting other people who need that depth of healing too.
Yeah. We already have a vision for the type of healers that the obvious that are the ones that are in our profession, but
Yeah,
through our unique conversations, the reality is through listening to this podcast, people can start to see like the work they do is being healing work. Because if we're trying to grow and develop, even somebody who's like a business coach and is working on people's businesses, it's like, well, why would you hire a coach in
yeah,
this world for anything? Well, it would be to overcome aspects of yourself that aren't fully developed. It might be to repair and heal and patch those that things that weren't looked at. So really, for us to progress in this world, we're all active healers,
yeah,
whether we really want to acknowledge it or not. So I'm excited through some of the conversations we had to get some unique individuals to also start to explore maybe less uh, healings that fit less into the box, or what healing
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and also to be able to connect with people from just many different industries of healing, the different perspectives that they can bring, the different understanding and pieces of wisdom. And whether it's somebody in the medical field or
Mm.
acupuncture or chiropractic or energy healing or coaching or psychology, to really bring in these different pieces together uh, so that we can understand healing on a multidimensional level and then unlock those pieces within ourselves.
Yeah, because more often they're interlinked more than we know, right? And I think you and I will probably explore this on an episode, but you and I have very much seen how the philosophy behind, let's just say, chiropractic
Yeah,
actually can meld and intertwine and weave through so many other different philosophies, from like the spiritual lineage we've trained in to like acupunctural philosophies to even psychological models that are studied. There's this essence that pieces of all of them have a lot more similarities than differences. And I think one of the aspects I really want to look at in this is bringing down some of the barriers and the walls that people put
mhm,
up to be, separate and distinct within whatever they do. Because at the end of the day, many means and modalities can really help transform people. And I've always struggled when doctors get upset that they didn't get the credit for the healing in
yeah,
essence.
yeah. And each person's healing journey too, there's probably times where it'd be benefit to explore many different types of healers for your own progression
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. And recently I had that experience even for myself where
Mm,
I think in the natural health profession,
yeah,
we can tend to want to do things naturally. But I said this to you is like I dealt with something pretty significant from a infection perspective over a course of a month and had to do medical intervention in the form of antibiotics, which I hadn't done for like 10 years.
yeah,
And I struggled to like take that step, and then I did it and I was so happy. But then at the end of it, I said, when you choose to be a healer, you're kind of choosing an unnatural state, right? You're choosing this unnatural life where every day you're working more and more intimately with people and
yeah,
everything that they bring within this world, which can be very difficult. So it's
yeah.
like trying to live a completely natural life 24/7 all the time, every time. It's like we don't live in a world that always supports that paradigm, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah. The way I experience that is like with chiropractic. One of the things that I know we both had to learn is like we have to get ourselves out of the way sometimes. So it's like maybe you didn't sleep well, maybe you're feeling run down, maybe there some
Yeah.
different challenges going on. but that person's right in front of you, and you have to take care of them to your
Yeah.
best ability.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're a little bit run down or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, people really depend on us.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I really had to develop over time was this getting myself out of the way so I could be a greater servant for people.
Mhm.
And the more we can do that, the more we're able to help them heal in a greater way. And sometimes it's instead of being run down, it's like maybe that person just drives you a little bit nuts.
Yeah.
You know, we still help them to the best of our ability because they're showing up for that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
deserve.
I'm sure we're never gonna explore how in the ways that working with other people can make people nuts on this show.
Yeah.
Because it can. I mean, it's a really, it's an up and down thing, but at the end of the day, like you said, the most important or impactful aspect is this idea of service, which, we will be sure to go deep into that. I don't think there's anybody that gets into the healing arts that isn't looking to do service, and I would even go as far as saying that, to live a fruitful, joyful life, like there has to be some form of that. In fact, everyone who works in my office, in my practice, was a former teacher, and I believe I was a teacher in addition to a high school special education teacher prior to getting into chiropractic and the healing arts. But with that being said, I believe that every teacher also gets into that profession with the right heart, right? But
Yeah.
then something occurs, and then it's tough, and it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like they got into it for that reasons, but there's many layers to that. But I think ultimately, discovering that heart of a servant is one of the pieces we are look to unpack in this, not just for why we are doing it, but also the guests that we have, and the people that we start to begin to go deeper with.
Yeah, absolutely. And for somebody like if there's a different healer out there who's maybe been doing it for a while, and over the years maybe there have been different challenges and some of the armor has started to come on, and you're like, you know what, I don't have quite that bright-eyed optimism that I used to have.
Mm,
We can talk about how to remove some of those some of that built up crud that gets stuck along the way so that that can come out again.
yeah. I love it. For you, what are you kind of like, what are you most excited about for this podcast, and getting started with it? We had many discussions down the line. I want to see what you're like, what's deep down your thing you're most excited about doing.
Well, I'm really most excited to hear and connect with some of the different stories of probably the people we're going to interview.
Yeah.
Because we've sat down and we've come up with this list of really amazing
Mhm.
people from many different fields already,
Yeah.
and then some really good conversations to ask them about healing and being a healer, and
Mhm.
to hear those reflections back. I'm really excited for that. And if I can share one more piece, it's from the ancient wisdom that we've studied. One of the things I think both you and I do really well is that we're both very practical, and
Mm,
that when we learn something, we're always thinking about how do I apply this into my
yeah.
life. Like
Mhm.
there's always that happening in the background for both of us.
Mhm.
So being able to take some of this ancient wisdom that we've tested in a practical way and used in a practical way in our own life to
Yeah.
help other people really step up as healers, whether it means just connecting with deeper levels and more energetic deepening with clients, deeper levels of the self, or just helping break through some of these blockages that can happen that keep us in a stuck state.
Perfect. Yeah, I totally agree. I even refer to myself, and probably you, from time to time, as like a practical spiritualist.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes people perceive that when they go deeper in their understanding of self or spiritual practices and spiritual nature, they have all these masks around what that means, what they need to look like. And just for you and I think we've demystified some of what that really means. In addition, I feel like one of the biggest weaknesses for healers in general, this is across the board, is we get really good at talking and communicating and working with, uh, the ones that fit within our our niche, if you will. You know, like chiropractors get so good at talking about chiropractic with chiropractors that they forget how to bring this to the general public and speak about it. And there's this huge gap to overcome. And I know you and I see this all the time with the healers is people have this desire to serve, but yet it's the gap to talking to the public and really going out and affecting the public and getting into communication and marketing. We see such struggle and difficulty. And I know that other healing and service professions really do struggle with that. So I'm looking forward to one, finding out how other individuals in other arts experience that, but then also having some new understanding, right? Like how many times do we talk to a new group of people, or you just get a moment to really like shine a light on what it is that you do and how it helps in a very simple, concise way. And it makes all the difference. So I think for me, those are two things also I'm really looking forward to exploring on this podcast.
We definitely have a lot to explore and a lot to unpack, and some amazing guests to interview, and so many good conversations that are going to come up.
Yeah. So we are really excited. We're going to be diving into our next episodes, just really starting to get deep into the topics from service to healers to miracles, and to really just getting to know how to go deeper and how to care for ourselves. So we look forward to exploring this journey for you, with you, inch by inch, day by day, week by week. We look forward to growing and connecting and just growing this community with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us for this first episode, and it's just going to get better from here. We're so excited. We really do have such amazing content to share with you. So thanks for being here.
Cool.
Awesome. I think that was